Airline Empires is the world's free-to-use aviation tycoon that allows players to establish an airline and compete with one another for the highest company valuation. This consists of an array of criteria such as aircraft ownership or lease, presence within the domestic and international market, and daily operating profit. This report attempts to understand the market entry constraints, what business models are, how operating strategies are applied with these in mind, as well as financial discussions displaying the growth of the company and the success. In order to support the research towards an ideal level of success, comparisons will be made year to year as the group did so throughout writing the report to ensure max profit was growing exponentially without any risk of deceleration.
The airline was established in September 1982 with its first base of operations in Melbourne, Australia. However, due to heavy competition in the area with an already established legacy airline, Australian Airlines, the company lost all of its market share and therefore was declared bankrupt. In December 1982, it was rebranded to be a hybrid airline and started operations in Budapest, Hungary. It initiated a campaign connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and punctual services, and with a slogan, "Keep Climbing," to create a significant impact to the aviation market in the country. It first introduced flights to neighboring European countries utilizing a Douglas DC-950. A month after starting its operations, a rival airline, Silver Air, also started operating in the country by flying to routes that the company is flying to. Due to increasing competition in the market share in a few months after maximizing only one aircraft, the airline saw a slight increase in its profits and therefore decided to lease a much larger aircraft, the McDonnell Douglas MD-81, to capture longer routes, carry more passengers within Europe, and increase flight frequency in current routes to compete with the rival airline, which the company successfully purged its way out of the competition that led to Silver Air losing profits and therefore had to cancel all of its flights. After just a year in the aviation industry, the airline leased a few Boeing 767-200ERs to expand its network to long-haul routes in the Middle East, Asia, and North America, and even major destinations in Europe. This then led to the airline's financial status to increase significantly, and as a result, gained an invitation from Corsair International to join one of the largest airline alliances, the Globe. Joining the airline alliance significantly uplifted the financial status of the airline and therefore led to increasing its reputation to the aviation market, not only in Europe but also worldwide. With its ever-increasing network in the industry, the company decided to open its first hub in Budapest to acquire more gates and accommodate its growing fleet of aircrafts. Currently, the airline is operating a young fleet of 52 aircrafts, one Douglas DC-950, 28 McDonnell Douglas MD-81, and 23 Boeing 767-200ER, with 2 new aircraft currently on order, and serving 61 destinations in Europe, Middle East, Asia, and United States. The airline continues to acquire Boeing 767-200ERs to promote its network to longer routes while also serving more passengers with premium services and a choice to fly in either first, business, or economy class, and has been one of the major financial drivers of the company. The airline is currently ranked 83rd in the simulator world.
Aviation has taken over the world when it comes to transportation, and with the steady increase in development towards aircraft configurations, shipping goods through the air has found to reduce the elapsed time from sending to receiving, as the pre-existing length of travel that ships must take through the sea can range from 1 to 3 months. With competitive markets ranging from all over the world, it is well known that any company must understand who their targeted audience is. In order to critically define what market an airline is competing in, a brand proposition must be identified within a company's framework so that correct and necessary operation strategies are applied for a company's success. A full-service airline incorporates a network grid of locations, where flights enter collection-like hubs and disseminate, connecting them all together within their own route. Therefore, this facilitates cities that cannot produce enough traffic flow to justify the need for direct flights between themselves. For this reason, full-service airlines require a greater selection of aircraft in order to assist operations and therefore serve the entirety of the market by eliminating any weak presences. Therefore, this elucidates that shorter sector flights with less demand utilize smaller aircraft to a higher degree by filling them completely when an airline manipulates directed traffic flow by sales. On the other hand, larger aircraft that are incorporated within this fleet grant the greatest ability to enable higher traffic demand periods, such as holidays. For example, flights to and from Newcastle, New South Wales may only be available from aerodromes closer to the destination itself. A passenger wishing to travel from Rockhampton, Queensland, is forced to fly to Brisbane first on a regular Boeing 737. However, it is connected through to a Fokker 100 for the remainder of the flight as less traffic flows between these areas. This is a clear-cut example of an airline's use of research to ensure that aircraft load factors and utilization is at its peak. An airline attacking the market within this business model entails higher cost structures within the airfare, as the flight will offer a range of services to the passenger, hence the name full service airline. This expectation means that checked luggage, in-flight entertainment, meals, assisted check-in, and favorable time slots of departure during busier peak periods are included within this airfare. Additionally to this, further revenue can be generated by also including optional luxury services like cabin classes, lounge access, priority check-in, and valet drop-off, as the consumer would already expect standard services to be built into the original price. This market approach is of high demand with those who travel for holidays and business, as leisurely-like travel will help the passenger relax and provide comfort away from home at long distances. Low-cost carriers attack the market with a point-to-point network system, which allows the consumers the ability of short-haul travel and reaching their desired destination faster and more efficiently, as there are no requirements to stop throughout the journey. Low-cost carriers attack this market with a different pricing strategy, as the services that are offered are also on the other end of the scale. This airline is known for its extremely strong minimization focus, which entails the hire of a assigned seat and then transportation to the destination. Commonly, the advertised price that low-cost carriers offer to stimulate demand is a one-way ticket towards that destination. This in turn creates a more appealing price for the consumer and increases demand by advertisement. Passengers flying with an airline suited towards this business model can opt to have the same service that can be expected in a full-service airline normally, but for an additional cost. As low-cost carriers strive to make flying as cost-effective as they possibly can, this therefore stimulates the demand. Operationally, low-cost carriers book less favorable time slots to fly in and out of destinations to achieve lower operating fees, such as gate access, by flying to secondary airports within the vicinity of an already established market. Melbourne's Tullamarine Airport is a prime example of this nature, as Jetstar currently operates within Terminal 4, excluded away from its parent airline Qantas. As a result, Jetstar minimizes costs for operations, as the inconvenience for passengers to walk towards the main terminal will increase travel time. Low-cost carriers will have a more simplistic approach towards the aircraft fleet range, as most of the commercial travel consists of a shorter duration but will include longer days, as each flight time will last roughly 1 to 2 hours each, and turnaround for an aircraft takes less time to clean and prepare for the next flight on a smaller aircraft. This results in greater utilization of the company's assets. Within Australia, this particular pricing strategy has proven to allow for a greater percentage of the population to access domestic travel, as those from lower socioeconomic households and individuals of need in emergency travel are drawn to this market, as they may not have had the option prior. As airline empires incorporates a mix of passenger and cargo operations, there was a decision to which market the group wanted to attack. As the nature of this assignment's task scope was around competitiveness and the economic impacts on an airline's success within a simulation, this decision was made to limit the business models to the two researched above. JARANE Airlines established within the European market as a full-service airline to incorporate a multitude of destinations offered with an amount of interconnecting hubs between them.
Fleet planning holds immense value when developing and operating an airline. Decisions made revolving around aircraft financing and aircraft selection are pivotal in the operation of a profitable airline. Financing for an aircraft can be broken down into three avenues: purchasing agreements, leasing agreements, and a mixture of the two. Purchasing agreements involve an airline making a direct payment to the manufacturer in return for a product. This path of financing demands large working capital reserves to satisfy orders of such a value for an aircraft, leaving the airline with reduced cash reserves, which may cause issues if any unseen expenditures present themselves. Depreciation should also be considered when purchasing an aircraft outright, as its given value will decrease as soon as it leaves the manufacturer. Leasing is a more predominant approach for financing within the industry, in which the airline pays a manufacturer or leasing agency a monthly fee for operating an aircraft. The advantage of leasing is the retention of the airline's working capital, coinciding with the benefit of being able to upgrade and replace aircraft more easily. The downside to leasing is over the maturity of the loan, overall cost will be greater than if one were to purchase an aircraft outright. A mixture of both purchasing and leasing has been adapted for a large percentage of the industry as it weighs up the pros and cons for both avenues, providing a more balanced financial approach. Aircraft selection is another major factor to consider when planning one's fleet. A fleet consisting of commonality reduces expenditure by saving on maintenance, aircraft spares, and training costs, as these can be streamlined with an aircraft fleet consisting of commonality. Aircraft chosen should also be suited for routes flown by factoring in performance and network demand. JARANE Airlines sought to finance their entire fleet through an avenue of 100% outright leasing, offering greater fleet flexibility within the organisation into the future and conserving the airline's working capital. Beginning with the addition of the DC-9 and MD-81 aircraft as a cost-effective way of establishing the airline within the central hub of Budapest. These aircraft provided opportunity to commence operations at a manageable cost and to operate within a small radius of Budapest. As the company grew, the decision to increase the number of MD-81 aircraft was made. Today, April 23, 1987, operating a capacity of 28 aircraft of this type, with an average daily profit of $246,658. Expanding the fleet to service a greater capacity and reach, the addition of a 767-200ER aircraft was made to further increase incoming revenue. Again, through an avenue of leasing, this aircraft supported revenue growth by allowing services to attain greater reach and work within more markets. Discussed earlier in the presentation, an airline can employ networking strategies of hub and spoke operation or point-to-point operations to satisfy their respective business models. Operating as a hub and spoke network out of Budapest, JARANE Airlines accommodates for both short and long-haul flights through the utilisation of MD-81 and 767-200ER aircraft, capitalising on the advantages presented from the utilisation of this network. Price-driven competition is where a consumer makes a conscious decision to buy a product or service based on the price of the immediately surrounding competition. Competition-priced regimes concentrate on how to attain the most profitable market share on a particular route. There is no one set price that will attract the greatest percentage of market share for every airline. These prices vary, making it independent for each competitor. The strategy within JARANE Airlines was to target routes from the hub of Budapest in which there was currently no competition and therefore no need for price-driven competition, resulting in increased revenue. Operations as of April 23, 1987 illustrate that of our route network consisting of 61 different routes, 51 of those were controlled through a monopoly. On those 10 outlying routes, we were able to increase our market share over the competition by applying price-driven competition strategies of lowering prices to capture a greater quantity of the market share, while also ensuring profit margins were healthy. Load factors are a percentage of an airline's maximum possible potential, contrasting against the real value of what is sold. A larger percentage of load factor indicates that an airline is operating at a greater capacity and in turn has the potential to generate more revenue. Load factors can be broken down into two subcategories of passenger load factor and overall load factor. Passenger or seat load factors revolve around the actual passenger count compared to the capacity of an aircraft. This can be expressed as a percentage by dividing how many passengers are on board by the total number of seats available on the flight. Overall load factor encompasses both seat load factor with also a cargo consideration. This can be calculated by dividing the maximum possible payload of the aircraft with the actual current payload. Load factors surrounding JARANE Airlines were high, with airlines aiming to attain between 70 to 85% load factors. The achieved load factor of over 99% was resultant from targeting routes with no competition, allowing for the frequencies and price of flights to be dictated by the airline with no outsider competition involvement. Flight frequencies are considered to be an important indicator of service quality. Higher frequencies on a route reduce the time between actual departures and when passengers are able to catch a flight at their desired departure time. Flight frequencies hold a direct correlation with load factors. Increasing flight frequencies share the demand of a route over more seats, resulting in lower load factor percentage. This relationship between quality service and load factors must be balanced when managing flight frequencies, as to not reduce revenue on a route while maintaining a level of customer satisfaction. Exploring JARANE Airlines, flight frequencies were established dependent on how many hours are available on each aircraft. This approach was successful in capturing high load factors, as discussed on the previous slide, as routes with few or no competition were targeted, leaving an disproportionate relationship between demand and seats available. Although this tack produced a high load factor percentage, a dissatisfaction rate in route reputation of 60% was experienced across all routes.
Airline finances. Our fleet. Our fleet consists of three types of aircraft. Firstly, we have the Boeing 767-200ER with 23 aircraft in active service. Secondly, we have the McDonnell Douglas MD-81 with 20 aircraft in active service. Lastly, we have the Douglas DC-950 with 1 aircraft in active service. The reason behind the approach to standardize a fleet as per single aircraft type is to maximize the aircraft's utilization and keep our aircraft flying. This has given us the ability to reduce our downtime for maintenance as well as reduce the cost of maintenance. Since our airline is fairly new, the best approach was to standardize our fleet to grow our capital in order to purchase assets and maintain their operations. The Partnership Alliance of the Global Alliance Group was an unexpected event that was sent via an invitation from Corsair International, ranking number 2 airline within the world. The alliance formed in 1983. Our airline at the time was fairly new, with a small number of aircraft in active service. We knew that joining the alliance will provide us a foothold to financial stability, which consists of the following advantages. It would access us to more markets through partnership airlines. It would increase passenger load factor on alliance routes. It would increase our fleet utilization, and it would enhance our airline's capacity to raise capital, and lastly, it would increase our brand awareness. With enhanced market power created by the alliance, higher traffic levels within our region appeared faster than we expected. We adjusted accordingly to accommodate this early advantage rise by implementing an economic budget to accommodate for demanded future growth. 1982-1983 Financial Budget. The financial budget was an essential factor for our future financial stability. The unique opportunity to join the alliance at an early stage enabled the ability to co-share through connecting passengers to and from destinations. Since the partnership, our airline has advanced beyond our financial growth predictions. To accommodate the alliance formation and take advantage for future economic growth, our airline went into a strict short-term financial budget to grow our aircraft fleet. It mainly consisted of budgeting our marketing sector and our human resources sector. The ranking status of the Global Alliance Group is currently ranked number 1. With over 30 members and 105 hubs, it has an average passenger movement of 6 million daily, serving up to 1,700 destinations. The outcome. The Airline Alliance has given our airline the ability to save time and money. While being able to afford and access a wider net of travel, it enabled our airline to compete in the global marketplace through lucrative utilization of code-sharing agreements. As a result, an additional 10% in increased revenue was recorded since the last financial year. Using our income statement as a financial forecaster, we see that since the 1983 partnership, our airline is steadily increased on a revenue basis of 9% per annum, and we predict that the following year our revenue is to increase an extra 14% as we embark to make our international presence.
The use of a multiplayer online airline simulator like Airline Empire enhanced our understanding of the dynamic airline environment. Throughout the simulator, our critical aspect to our success is defined by the market we entered in. As discussed in our airline background, the airline went bankrupt into the first 3 months into entry due to competition, which then led our airline to target a new market. Our choice had become Budapest, Hungary, which is within Europe and an empty market with no operations. The strategy of choice our airline incorporated targeted routes that met a high demand on daily passengers, and since no airline was operated within Budapest, the need for price-driven competition was unnecessary, resulting in increased revenue. This presented a unique outlook for our airline to prosper in the future, as our embarkment to enter the intentional market is a journey to continue where we intend to connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and punctual services.